Hello, welcome to my channel, Secret Star Soul Healing. I'm Secret Charla. And before I came on to make this video, I asked Spirit to infuse the video with healing. So if you need healing of any kind, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, and you're open to healing from Spirit, then it's available to you just by opening this video. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on with why I came on today. So I've made a couple videos now about my experiences in Japan. I was just there in June and July of 2026. And I had an experience of getting a message from a koi fish. I had an experience communicating with an ice cave guardian, a kind of nature spirit. Well, I had an additional experience with some temple guardians. So this was interesting. So when you first come into Buddhist temples, I believe in China as well, but this is in Japan in particular, there's these really tall guardians that are right at the gate. So as you pass through the gate, you see them there. And I don't know, they're probably maybe 10 feet tall. They're really tall and they look kind of scary and they're shown with their foot on top of like a demon's head. So they're basically saying nothing negative should come in here. If you're not coming into the temple with good intentions, we're going to take care of it, right? So there's two of them on the outer gate. And then when you go inside this temple, so this was at Todaiji Temple, and this was near the Kyoto area in that general part of Japan. And so you go inside this huge temple, this huge Buddhist temple, and there's a huge Buddha in the center, which I think is made out of bronze. And then there's some like bodhisattva type spiritual beings on either side, right? And then when you go through the temple, there's also some other additional guardians inside of there that came, I think, from some other gates. Maybe the gate burned down. I can't exactly remember what happened, but there were some guardians that were inside on display. All right, so while I was there, I tried to tune in to see if there was any kind of guardian spirits around because I'd had the experience of the nature guardian of the ice cave. And so I thought, okay, what might I find on temple grounds? And to my surprise, the guardians looked just like the guardians outside, guarding the gate and also the ones inside. But they were so much bigger. They were like Godzilla size. Like they were huge. They were giants. And I just saw them walking around the grounds. One was just like standing in the pond, keeping an eye on things. Another one was like bending over a group of people, kind of, like looked like maybe they were trying to send a message like, you better not, that's what it looked like to me. That group was over by a fountain that when you first come into the temple, there's this big fountain. So I don't know if they were doing something they weren't supposed to be doing, or they were getting ready to do something they weren't supposed to be doing, but the guardian was definitely bending over and keeping an eye on things and looked kind of like someone doing this, right? So I was quite shocked. I wish I could have stayed longer to communicate with the guardians. They did look quite scary, but I felt that as long as I wasn't doing anything wrong, like if I was coming in respectfully, then I didn't have anything to worry about. But still, very shocking. Later on, I'll see if I can't post a picture on my website so you can see kind of what I mean by these temple guardians. Okay, so I tuned in later because I didn't have a chance to really talk to them much. I was with a group that I was leading, and so I had to leave. So I thought, okay, well, later on, when I have a chance, I'm gonna see if I can communicate with these guardians to see if they have a message. And so a friend of mine his name's Scott. He has the channel Scott Sun Sign Scorpio Tarot. And we were talking it over and using tarot cards to kind of figure out the message from the cave, sorry, from the temple guardians. And he was getting, they wanted to partner with humans, but also maybe they wanted to be humans. So they wanted to maybe experience what that was like. They saw humans around so much that they seemed to actually want to know what it was like to be human. So I found that very interesting because honestly, I don't know exactly what kind of beings they were. I've run into several nature spirits that felt energetically a certain way, like they felt like the element or the area that they were taking care of. These felt different. They felt specific to the temple. So I don't know exactly. I'm still somewhat new on this whole spiritual journey. And so it is not clear to me what exactly these beings are, if they were conjured somehow, or if they were nature spirits that decided they wanted to hang out at the temple now and take care of the temple area. I don't know, but they seemed different from what I've run into before. So I don't really know exactly what kind of beings they are, except for they were guardians of the temple. So later, when I had a chance to do a meditation when I got back home, because again, you can contact, one of the reasons that I was able to perceive them, I think, is because once I started mediumship and started learning how to communicate with human passed over spirits, I started to be able to communicate with all different kinds of spirits and started to be able to perceive them to my surprise. I'd actually seen a guardian spirit before at a crypt in Italy. It looked kind of like a spooky mummy, like, which again you would expect. He was like a mummy, but he was like crouched and climbing on the ceiling and bouncing around from like wall to wall. And I'm basically like, does anybody else see this? Can anyone else see this super creepy temple or not temple, crypt guardian? Right? And this was before my spiritual awakening. So I was perceiving it. And of course, my brain's like, it's your imagination. Surely this is your imagination. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just seeing this being, spooky being jumping on the ceiling and on the floor. And he's got like wrappings coming off of him. So I consulted later with a friend of mine who's a psychic, and she said it was a guardian of the temple and was created with intention, by the people who wanted the area guarded. They were Christian and they were persecuted in that area, of Italy, when the Romans were in control. But it's still not clear to me if that was a nature spirit that was convinced, and twisted somehow, because it was pretty creepy. I mean, I guess again, if you're not doing anything you're not supposed to be doing, you're fine, but it was super creepy. Anyway, so I want to go ahead and read you what the guardians said to me when I connected with them later when I got home and I had a chance to meditate. And, spirit can move instantaneously. Communication is instantaneous in the spirit world. So I was able to communicate with them, even though they were all the way back in Japan. Okay, here's what I got. So they were telling me that it was important to respect holy and sacred places, no matter what religion you belong to. The people that have used those sites for meaningful occasions like celebrations or to honor their dead or other kinds of ceremonies leave an energetic imprint that others feel when they pass through it, and it helps amplify the energy for the new people who enter it. So I was seeing the new people benefiting from that energy, like when some kind of comforting energy or just kind of feeling of peace, those kinds of energies get left behind so that when new people come in, they feel that. So it helps them to experience that. So it's important to take care of those places. And then there's guardians of a lot of these places. So take care. So that was like a warning. Don't do anything you're not supposed to do at protected places, at sacred, holy places. So some might not be very understanding. So sometimes we make mistakes when we go to a holy site. Like for example, when we went to my group went to a shrine in Japan, you're not supposed to walk through the center of the shrine. That's like where the holy beings go through. You're supposed to go along the sides to be respectful. And so, people were forgetting all the time and going through the middle. But, sometimes guardians will be understanding. But I think if you're purposely disrespectful, they are not going to be understanding. And some of them, regardless, may not be understanding. So just be careful. So it's especially a problem if you purposely make fun of the purpose of the area, desecrate the area, as the guardians will unlikely be understanding about that. I'm not exactly sure what the guardians are, like I said, so I've made a comment here. In some cases, they might be nature spirits that were already in the area and they like what the sacred space is used for. So they wanted to protect it, especially if the holy site is related to respecting nature or honoring nature. So sometimes nature spirits will take over those areas and say, oh, okay, we're going to be the guardians of this human creation now. Others might have been created with intention as protectors, like shamans or some other kind of holy, spiritual leader may have, used the energy of the area of the humans of the village to help create a guardian that will take care of the place. This reminds me a little bit of the Jewish tradition of creating golems. I think they would create them out of soil and other things and imbue them with um, the holy Jewish leader would imbue them with some kind of energy, so they were protectors. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. Anybody out there who's Jewish and wants to correct me and explain the history better, I'm just pulling it from my memory, so that could be wrong. Okay, so shamans could have somehow created the beings from different kinds of energy. Or and maybe it's just the intention of a lot of humans together really wanting a place to be protected, create this being. So I don't completely understand how it works. So these were, some of that was a message I got from the temple guardians, but some of it was also my own thoughts where I was trying to sort of understand what they were showing me. So I don't fully understand, but it was crazy. So anyway, what I would like to do is see if there's any further messages from those temple guardians or guardians of any kinds of sacred holy places that we should be thinking about. So first, I'm going to start with some purification here. Of the cards, of the area, of the space, crystals. Okay, so temple guardians or any other kinds of guardians of sacred holy places. What do we need to know about that? Or just anything that has to do with protecting nature or anything like that? What do we need to know about that, spirit? Thank you. All right. So first I'm going to open the reading using the Yokai Oracle deck. I used this deck last time. Yokai are supernatural beings that are part of the belief system of the Japanese. So I thought, fitting. The last video I made was, like I said, about the Ice Cave Guardian, which was a nature spirit. So if you didn't catch that one and you're interested in that kind of thing, you might be interested in that video. So I'll put a link to that video just in case. All right, spirit. So temple guardians or other kinds of guardians of sacred holy places. What's some further information, a further message we can get? All right, this says Shoujo, Harry, Mary, sea spirits. Wonder, curiosity, open-mindedness. Okay, so this makes a lot of sense. So this is the yokai. So this makes a lot of sense because like I'm really honing in on the open-mindedness part. So again, unfortunately, some people have a bad habit of making fun of other people's belief systems. And so this is really like have an open mind, be curious to learn about other belief systems, other cultures. Don't be judgmental about that. And there's something to be learned from really, if you've studied any kind of religion, or any kind of spiritual practice, I would say there's something for everybody to learn. It's really interesting how many kinds of religions overlap in the belief system about how to treat people and that kind of thing. That seems to be almost universal. So we can learn something. We can learn about the similarities between all our religions and also some important differences where we can maybe think of things in a new way. So I like that a lot. All right. So the deck I'm going to use is called Tabi no Kokoro. So this is a Japanese deck I haven't used on the channel before. It's very pretty. All right, so temple guardian spirits, other kinds of guardian spirits from other sacred places, other belief systems, other holy places. What messages do you have for us? All right, Three of Cups celebrations. So I like this. This to me kind of goes back to what was said earlier, which is these are places of celebration. And so, those are good, that's good for anyone to go to. And the fact that that energy gets imprinted on the environment makes it a great place for any of us to go to. So it's just another reason why we should respect those places. It's got a beautiful energy imprinted there. Anybody who goes there can benefit from feeling that energy. And a lot of people associate joyous occasions to those places. So it's important that we take care of those places. All right, another message. Another message about holy places, sacred places. What do the guardians of the holy sacred places want us to know? All right, I got two cards out of here. Okay, so one is the Page of Cups. And what this reminds me of is somebody making an offering. Intuitively, that's what I'm getting from this. So I would say a way to honor the area is find out when you go visit a place, find out what the local people do to honor the temple or the shrine. For example, a lot of the temples that you go to in Japan, you cleanse yourself before you go in. You purify yourself. You wash your hands and you wash out your mouth before you approach the temple. So that is one way to show that you are purifying and cleaning yourself to make yourself pure before you go approach the temple. So find out the local customs. There could be particular reasons why spirits appreciate that kind of offering for that area. So find out what they are and honor them. And that's a great way to keep the guardians happy and to show your respect by making some kind of offering that is in line with the tradition. And if you're not sure what that is, if you stumble upon a place that you think is some kind of shrine, it happened a lot when I was in Korea. There were just like little shrines all through the forest areas. And so you may not know the local tradition. What do you give as an offering to this particular shrine? But if you have anything, you can give an offering just to show your respect. And it might not be the usual offering, but just offer something that makes sense to you intuitively at the time. And that will show that you're respecting the area. Okay, and then the other card that popped out was the Chariot card. So this is a major arcana. So the Chariot card is interesting. So a couple things about the Chariot card. First of all, it's talking about movement and success, but also the history of this card is that the driver of the car actually doesn't use the reins. He uses his intuition to drive the cart. And so again, this is making me think, use your intuition when you approach a holy space. So even if you don't know the history of the area or exactly how to behave there, tune into your intuition because spirit will guide you, right? You might feel compelled to do a certain thing there, like bow or, you know, leave a stone there, or you might you suddenly get the urge to put a pine cone there. I would say follow whatever your intuition indicates is going to be a good offering, or if you feel the desire to behave in a certain way, I would say listen to that because you're getting messages from spirit about what to do to show you're honoring the place. And so you're less likely to annoy any guardians there if you tune into your intuition and tune into spirit so that you'll know what to do. Okay, I'm going to go for one final card. I had another deck in mind, but I'm getting, my intuition is telling me I should pull one more yokai oracle card, like from this deck over here. I'm getting that there's a message for us in that deck. So let's see what the final closing message is from the guardians of the holy places, the holy spaces, the sacred places. What do we need to know? Okay, this says, this is the Tengu mountain goblins. The goblins doesn't sound good, but they're going to be a kind of guardian. So it says timing, strategy, and adaptability. So what this says to me is, again, you have to adapt to the situation. So if you can, the best thing to do, if you're going to a place that's new to you and you know there's going to be some kind of holy places there, is do the research so you know what you're supposed to do. Do you light a candle there? Do you, do this? What do you do to show respect for the area? I mean, it's just a good thing to do generally, to show respect for the whoever's in charge of that area, whether it's a priest, a monk, a nun, whoever. You coming in and following the rules is showing respect to them as well. It's showing respect to the culture and the people in the area where you're visiting. So it's also respectful to the people of the area, but it's respectful to the spirits of the area as well, whether they be guardians or gods and goddesses, whatever the case may be. So basically, that's what it means to me when I read that, like timing and strategy. So take the time to do the research before you come. Now, if you stumble upon a holy place and you're not sure what to do because you weren't expecting it or whatever the case may be, then again, adaptability, just adapt and listen to your intuition or look what other people are doing if there's people around and follow what they're doing so that you will show your respect for the area. And then also, I'm getting a message right now, and that is just, once again, just a reminder that it's important to take care of those places, leave them how you found them. Don't leave trash there. Don't pollute the water there. Don't create something that's not supposed to be there. On a lot of hikes, people got into the habit of stacking up rocks. And I don't know exactly why people did that, but it was disturbing the area. It wasn't natural. And so a lot of times when people want to come through an area, they want to come through it looking as close to natural as possible. So that was taking people out of that mindset as well. You're seeing structures, but also, those stones can be part of habitats and you moving them. Maybe something was living under those rocks that was part of the ecosystem, and now you've disturbed the ecosystem. So, be respectful of the areas you go to, leave them how you found them, take care of those spaces because they're important. And again, it doesn't matter if you're part of that religion or that belief system, just show that you're honoring the local people, but also the local spirits. All right, folks, if anything I said resonated with you, if you've had your own experiences, maybe you've been out somewhere in nature and felt like the urge to give an offering to something you were sensing there. I'd love to hear any stories about that. A lot of people talk about Bigfoot. I've not experienced Bigfoot. I know some people think Bigfoot is a physical, like, cryptid, I think they call them, like an actual animal or something that's been living in nature all this time and we just haven't found them. But I have a hard time believing that part coming from the science point of view. So I think they're either some kind of nature spirit or some other kind of being. I'm not sure, interdimensional being. I don't know, because I really feel that if there were that many out there, we would have found a dead one, for example. I don't know. So in any case, some people have had experiences with Bigfoot. So if you had, I would love to hear about that. If you ever felt you should give an offering of some kind, or if you felt that there were beings around when you've given offerings, or felt a thank you, or something along those lines. Have you felt something when you've been to different holy places and followed the local culture, the local customs? I'd love to hear about that. All right. If you liked what you heard today, please hit the like button, subscribe if you want to hear messages from Spirit. I try to come on about once a week. And then, yeah, again, if anything resonated with you, I'd love to hear a comment. I find all this so interesting. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.